Some news stories for you from Ethiopia, Eritrea and Somalia. Firstly, according to an Israeli news source, Israeli government has approved the closure of its embassy in Eritrea. Why is that Israel is closing its embassy in Eritrea? Because we know that in 1993, Isaias Afwerki, Eritrean president, traveled to Israel. He received medical treatment there. And Israel-Eritrea relations have not been very strained in recent years. So what's the reason behind the closure of Israeli embassy in Eritrea? Second news story is about Hassan Sheikh Mahmud, President of Somalia, who arrived in Eritrea a few hours ago. And after his arrival, he shared a message about Isaias Afwerki, Eritrean ruler. When Hassan Sheikh Mahmud was in opposition, what were his views about Isaias Afwerki, about Eritrea back then? We have a clip for you. His today's message and his earlier views about Isaias Afwerki and Eritrea. A third news story is from the Somali region of Ethiopia, where opposition and ruling party politicians have been seen together today. Fourthly, Amhara region of Ethiopia, where Ethiopian Petroleum and Energy Regulatory Authority a few days ago claimed that fuel tankers departing Djibouti destined for Amhara region are being diverted to Tigray, Sudan and black market. But stolen fuel is being recovered in Amhara region of Ethiopia. I shared a similar news story 2 days ago. Now another news story showing that more than 100,000 liters of fuel have been recovered in the Amhara region of Ethiopia. Fifthly, a news story from BG, Benishangul Gumuz region. In the previous video, we reported about imposition of nighttime curfew in Assosa city of BG. Now we have a report from Sherkole Ethiopia, where for the last 24 hours, heavy fighting is ongoing between fighters, Gomuz fighters and Amhara forces too, along with regional forces of BG. Lastly, we have a clip from Tigray's main city, Adigrat. Firstly, Israel-Eritrea relations. Reportedly, according to Jerusalem Post, an Israeli news source, Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid has approved the closure of Israeli embassy in Eritrea. The decision was made due to delay from Eritrea to approve the appointment of an Israeli ambassador. The appointment was made 2 years ago. 2 years ago, Israel appointed an ambassador to Eritrea. Ismail Khaldi was appointed. But so far, Eritrean government has not approved the appointment of this Israeli ambassador to Eritrea. So that is why reportedly Israeli government is going to close its embassy in Asmara. Traditionally, Israel-Eritrea relations have been friendly, though before 1991, when EPLF was fighting for independence, Israel stood with Ethiopia. It opposed Eritrean independence. because it saw EPLF close to Arab countries. So Israel was against the creation of a pro-Arab country in the Horn of Africa. That is why it opposed the creation of the independence of Eritrea. But after 1991, relations improved, and in 1993, there was start of formal diplomatic ties between Eritrea and Israel, and Isaias Afwerki received medical treatment in Israel. It is said that Judaism is not recognized as a religion in Eritrea, but Jews are allowed to practice their religion freely, unlike some Christian denominations which complain that they are facing persecution in Eritrea. But the sudden escalation of tensions seems to be linked to Eritrean refusal to allow the appointment of Ismail Khaldi as Israeli ambassador to Eritrea. Second news story is again from Eritrea, where Somalia's president arrived a few hours ago. His name is Hassan Sheikh Mahmud, and after he arrived in Amhara, and he was received by Isaias Afwerki, Eritrean ruler, on Amhara airport. And after that, Hassan Sheikh shared a message. He said, "It is an honor to have been welcomed by His Excellency Isaias Afwerki, President of Eritrea. I look forward to discussions on key issues related to bilateral relations." Hassan Sheikh is now honored that Isaias Afwerki is welcoming him, receiving him. What were Hassan Sheikh's views a few years ago when he was in opposition? We have a clip for you. Hassan Sheikh was heard saying a few years ago that Eritrea, Isaias Afwerki, did not do anything for Somalis. Back then he said that Eritrea hosted armed group Alliance for Re-Liberation of Somalia, ARS, when ARS was fighting Ethiopian government, when Ethiopian government forces attacked Somalia in 2006. But after there were peace talks, Eritrea kicked out ARS. And Eritrea did not build any schools, any hospitals for the people, for Somali people. So back then, he was critical of Isaias Afwerki of Eritrea, and he supported Djibouti. He was in support of close Djibouti-Somalia ties. But today he was honored that he had been welcomed by Isaias Afwerki. Watch this clip, an old clip, a few years old clip, which I mentioned, showing Hassan Sheikh Mahmud talking about Isaias Afwerki. Clip has no English subtitles, but I summed up what he is saying. Watch this clip.
wardadka lagama abaal dhacbeena lagama sheego propaganda laguma furo Eritrea maxay noo qabatay anaga xarada moogta dadka in aqliga laga xada ma aha Isaias Afwerki iyo dalkiisa Eritrea Soomaaliya maxay u tareen midowgii maxaakiimta islaamiga markay carareen ee aarastay magan galiyeen siiyeen meel inay dagaalamayaan meel ku siiyeen markii dambe way heshiinayna ma dagaalamayna dhawaabtii soo iriyeen war maanta yaa nala dhihin marka Isaias waraal oo saaxiib Eritrea xabiib Djibouti cadow ah yaa nala dhihin Djibouti Eritrea dhul Djibouti leeda ayadoo haysato oo askar Djibouti leeda ay ku maqan tahay inaan annaga aan garab istaagna ay ahaydaan dhinac marnay asan aadna ani ma qaw xalay keenaa maanta inshallah airportka diyaarada looga daabulay ciidamo oo Israa'iil oo maxaan ku raadaay loo sii quray gadal loo sii wado Eritrean ah iskool Eritrea ay dhistay arkay iyo isbitaal meel ay ka furtay iyo MCH oo cunug lagu tallaalo war dadka Soomaaliyeed oo yaanan aqliga nalaga xadina indhihiina fay kala siiya.
Thirdly, viewers, a new story from the Somali region of Ethiopia, where opposition and government politicians were seen together. Region is led by Mustafa Omar, regional president, and ONLF, Ogaden National Liberation Front, which was an armed group. Later, it turned into a political party, I think in 2018. Today, its leaders, ONLF leaders, met with Mustafa Omar on the occasion of Eid al-Adha. Today, Muslims celebrated Eid al-Adha in Ethiopia, Somalia, Eritrea, Sudan, neighboring countries as well. And ONLF leaders paid a courtesy call on Mustafa Omar. Then Mustafa Omar shared a message. What did he say? He said, yesterday's fighters, today's peace preachers. Please to welcome leaders of ONLF who paid a courtesy call on me on the occasion of Eid al-Adha today. They include 2 members of Somali region's cabinet. I found Mustafa Omar's message a little strange. He said, yesterday's fighters, today's peace preachers. He did not need to say it, I think. And he didn't need to mention that ONLF is part of cabinet. He seemed to be saying that ONLF is part of the government. It's not an opposition party, though ONLF has been trying to forge alliance with some opposition groups working out of Ethiopia, like CSC, Congress for Somali Cause. We have seen meetings between CSC and ONLF officials in Nairobi, Kenya. Meetings were held to form a joint coalition against Mustafa Omar's government in Somali region of Ethiopia. But ONLF is part of the government. Its 2 members are part of region's cabinet. That was confirmed today by Mustafa Omar. Fourthly, a new story from the Amhara region of Ethiopia, viewers. Ethiopian Petroleum and Energy Regulatory Authority a few days ago claimed that fuel tankers bound for Amhara region were going missing. The fuel was being diverted to Tigray, Sudan, to black market. But these missing fuel tankers, missing fuel is being recovered in the Amhara region of Ethiopia. We have a picture for you. The picture is from West Gojam zone, North Micha Warada. Here 130,000 liters of fuel were recovered. The fuel was purchased at subsidized prices a few weeks ago, and now it was due to be sold at increased prices. Ethiopia increased fuel prices a few days ago. So, missing fuel tankers, stolen fuel is being recovered in Amhara region of Ethiopia. I mean, there are some groups, some gangs involved in illegal fuel trade in the Amhara region of Ethiopia. Fifthly, viewers, a new story from Benishangul Gumuz region of Ethiopia, where heavy fighting has been ongoing for the last 24 hours in Awareda. Fighting is between Gumuz fighters and Amhara militia members, Amhara regional forces. Name of this Warada is Sherkole. Sherkole is in Asosa zone of BG. In Asosa city, I reported in a previous video that nighttime curfew has been imposed. And in Sherkole, heavy fighting has been ongoing for hours between Gumuz fighters. Some say they are supported by OLA as well, and regional forces supported by Amhara regional forces too. Amharic news sources claim that ethnic Amhara civilians are being attacked by Gumus fighters supported by OLA. But what we have learned is that regional forces are involved, and regional forces and Gumus fighters are involved in this escalation in Assosa zone, Sherkole, Wareda. Assosa zone is home to GERD, Ethiopia about to start third filling, and before that we are seeing that curfew in Assosa city, fighting in Sherkole, Wareda. We have a clip for you showing arrival of regional forces in Assosa zone. In recent days, new reinforcements of regional forces have arrived in Assosa zone. Two clips for you. One is about the arrival of regional forces in Assosa. Second clip is from Adigrat. Adigrat is a major city in Tigray. The clip shows deserted roads of Adigrat. For miles you won't see any vehicles. It's a major town in Tigray. I wonder how people would be attending schools, how would they be receiving medical aid, if they want to travel to a hospital, how will they travel? There's no public transport. You would see